Hey, I'm Hollis, and welcome to the Friendly Fangirl podcast, where I nerd out on the films, shows, and video games that I encounter every week. Be sure to follow this podcast, and please follow my Twitter and blog at Hollis Films to follow my journey experiencing the entertainment industry's greatest stories. Beware of spoilers, you have been warned. PSA 2023 is a great year for gaming, and in this segment, I'm going to tell you why. Starting off, my most anticipated game of the year, Hogwarts Legacy. Okay. Just like I brushed off controversies to see Secrets of Dumbledore in theaters last year, I'm brushing off controversies to buy this game. I know it was only announced a couple years ago, but it feels like I've waited my whole life for this game. This is the Breath of the Wild of the Harry Potter universe. Hogwarts has always been an ideal escapism for me. I've already connected my Pottermore account, so I cannot wait to jump in with my Beechwood wand and Hufflepuff robes and skip all my classes to get lost in the castle. Speaking of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. When I got my Switch, Breath of the Wild was the first game I bought for it, and several weeks of unhealthy obsession and fun exploration was to follow. I still need to beat Breath of the Wild, however, I am very much looking forward to my favorite YouTuber's Let's Play of it. Looking at you, Alessandri. I'll still get a peek at what's to come when I finally beat Breath of the Wild and move on to the next installment. I'm just super hyped to see what this title has to offer. Star Wars in video games has been hit or miss, but 2019 was the beginning of a new era. The Kylo Ren trilogy ended, and Disney Plus rose the franchise from the ashes with The Mandalorian. And Disney Plus has been owning these Star Wars shows since. But before that, Star Wars Fallen Order approached our game consoles and showed us what a Star Wars adventure game can really be. I was in tears when the sequel, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, was announced, and that spicy trailer at the Game Awards was so fire. The way they're adding to the combat and how you can use a lightsaber is just so exciting to me. Final Fantasy XVI is putting the fantasy back in Final Fantasy. By that, I mean this installment has this medieval fantasy vibe that we don't get too much in the series. I also think the marketing of this game was well done, and that means something because the decade-long hype train for 15 was hellish and overdone. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed 15, but it was overhyped a bit for what we actually got. And also, as a person who's not a fan of turn-based gameplay, 15 was a welcoming sight, and between 5 and 7 Remake, combat in 16 should be so polished. But over anything, I'm keeping my eye on that story and music, as the franchise just knows what they're doing when it comes to these aspects. So those are my 4 horsemen of 2023 in terms of gaming, and that's not even the end of it. I think the next Spider-Man is supposed to be out this year. Forspoken, Resident Evil 4 Remake. They just announced Suicide Squad. There's a Street Fighter, there's a Diablo. Some new Legend of Heroes titles, which I'm kind of a fan of. And I think Assassin's Creed Mirage is this year as well. There's just so much to look forward to. 2023 is a great year to be a gamer, that's for sure. Avengers Assemble. Right off the bat, I gotta gush about the voice actors, as they are why I had to give the show a chance. Laura Bailey, Travis Willingham, Troy Baker, Fred Tatasciore, Liam O'Brien, Gray Griffin, Jennifer Hale, Matt Mercer, Corey Burton, Clancy Brown, Phil Lamar, so many others. Pretty much everyone you've ever heard in animation was in at least one episode. Now, my Marvel experience is exclusively from the MCU, so Avengers Assemble was a fresh change of pace with stories and characters pulled from the comics that the MCU just hasn't visited yet, and honestly, some of it for good reason. There are just things that work in the comics and in this show that I just don't think would have worked well with the films, like Murdoch. What is he? Red Skull was the main villain, and we saw appearances of the Dracula. There was this place called Dinosaur Islands with dinosaurs with weapons. There was this one time Dune threw everyone into a time heist. Thor's hammer shrunk in battle in that one Ant-Man episode. I loved the Adaptoids hammer made. Those were cool. Hulk's amnesia episode was pretty great. Hyperion is basically Superman. Guardians of the Galaxy with Seth Green as Rocket teamed up to the Avengers to fight a cosmic being. Oh. And, the Circus of Crime episode. The Hawkeye show could have gone very differently. Jumping over to Season 3. Season 3 was the Ultron Revolution. This meant that it was the T2 era for the Adaptoids. I don't even remember how they were defeated, but I'm sure sheer dumb luck was involved. There were some good moments in this season, like the Thunderbirds arc. Oh, and the Unhulked episode that gave us the Science Bro content that we haven't been seeing ever. And humans were introduced. There was this awesome Kang the Conqueror fight that leads to another time heist where Cap leaves Kang stuck in the Jurassic period. I like the episode where Yelena was introduced and turned Hulk into a Winter Soldier. I don't think we'd ever see that for real. Vision, Captain Marvel, and Black Panther are also introduced and eventually become recurring characters. Red Hulk leads into that weird fusion thing that was pretty crazy. And the whole Mighty Avengers thing was the real Civil War when Inhuman registration became a topic of conversation. The Ultron finale was pretty solid. It was the ultimate Avengers battle with Ultron. It's scary when the enemy can just take down the Dormenagerie like that. And the cliffhanger was a great way to end the season. Also, side note, in the MCU, do we really know what happened to Ultron? Because Vision just sapped him away, but where? Did we ever find that out? Alright, so ending off with Season 4, it was pretty obvious the MCU was having influence over this season. They changed Iron Man's voice actor and elements of his dialogue to make him sound more like Robert Downey Jr. I honestly wanted this in Season 1, but the other voice actor grew on me after 3 seasons, so I was kind of on the fence when they actually made this change. They also changed Falcon's design to match the films, and they kind of grew him up a little as well, because he was originally this college kid straight out from SHIELD training, and now he basically became Anthony Mackie. Secret Wars just meant New Avengers. It was kind of depressing. It was a really depressing start as the OGs were zapped out of existence, and now the focus was shifted on these new Avengers led by Black Panther. I miss the OGs, but there were still some cute stories, especially with Vision, and it was refreshing to explore these different dynamics with a unique cluster of heroes. The holiday episodes try to keep the OGs relevant through flashback filler episodes. The Halloween one was not it. However, the New Year's special was emotionally damaging. Peggy Carter and Howard Stark find themselves thrown into the future where they have to work with Captain America and Iron Man to make it back to their time. Hayley Atwell never misses an opportunity to portray this character. So watching this episode, hearing Hayley say, "Steve, I warned you," I'm crying, stop. They talked about their date and their dance. Steve considered going back with them. And Peggy said, "Don't forget me." Like, how could he ever forget his best girl? I was very invested in this ship. I was very invested in this ship. You did not want to see me at the end of Endgame. Going back to the main plot, Mighty Thor, well, just Jane Foster, to the rescue as she initiates a time heist, well, more like an interdimensional heist, for the new Avengers to get the real Avengers back. This was a crazy experience. There was a Moon Knight episode. We were introduced to the Beyonder and Battle World, a phenomenally cool concept explained to us by a newly found Iron Man. We meet Iron Fist, Smart Hulk, and Venom Dracula? Hulk and Banner were split entities at a time. Loki was an ally for several episodes. OMG, the pirate episode. Ant-Man and Ms. Marvel versus Typhoon Mary versus Dread Skull, which is Red Skull and Crossbones. Oh, and the Western Land, where Doctor Strange, Groot, and Rocket are in the Wild West, but it's dinosaurs and robots are illegal? And there was that encounter when multiple Ghost Riders show up, and it's like that chase from Mad Max. Remember when I say they do things on the show that just would not work in the MCU? Yeah. This all leads up to an epic finale. Mighty Thor finally makes an appearance during the Beyonder boss fight. But plot twist, absolutely no one saw coming. It's Loki who is the final enemy in the end. I really wish this was the series finale. Season 4 was all sorts of insane, and it had a pretty conclusive ending that was worthy of a series finale. And I'll tell you right now, Season 5 is just Black Panther, and as much as I love Black Panther, they should have just had a show called Black Panther and not turned the Avengers into the Black Panther show. So, overall, if you want to check the show out, I think it's good for kids, but also adults that kind of, like, it's not childish to the point where adults won't enjoy it, because I did genuinely enjoy many episodes. But I definitely recommend sticking with seasons 1 through 4. Ignore season 5. Yeah, solid show. And really refreshing for someone like me who has only experienced the MCU in terms of Marvel content. A Quiet Place. This film is quite unique. There is very minimal music or dialogue, and sign language is utilized most. This means we have to rely on every other element to observe the emotion and story conveyed throughout. This not only makes moments more suspenseful, but also forces us to pay more attention to details like facial expressions. I really gotta hand it to the cast. Of course, veterans Emily Blunt and John Krasinski did very well. I mean, this was literally their movie. But the children, Millicent Simmons and Noah Jupe, also did very well. It was really awesome watching Simmons, as she was a deaf girl playing a deaf character. Representation matters, guys. The story itself mostly follows the small family living through this apocalypse/alien invaded world. It's really interesting to see how they adapted in an intelligent way, I might add. There is a climax as tension does build in the final act. And the mom, whew, wow, she's a boss. I know a lot of people made so many comments about her after the first movie came out, and I see why. It was also cool to to learn what the aliens' weaknesses are. The concept of the aliens themselves is well thought out anyways, but to have this deaf girl who always had to live in a quiet world, have her hearing aids create a sound wave that makes the undefeated monsters vulnerable, that was pretty cool. And that final scene, when she weakens the alien in the basement and gives her mom an epic moment with a shotgun, that was cool. Solid film from start to finish. I see why it was highly praised. I know we all saw Huy Quan win that Golden Globe. That speech left me in tears. I just have to give him the Star Award this week. Huy was born in a very politically challenged Vietnam in the 70s. Him and his family, his large family of 11, managed to make their way to California, where Huy would begin his acting career. Huy came out strong with his role as the little sidekick boy from Indiana Jones' Temple of Doom.
Indy, I love you!
And from that went straight to the film that defines nostalgia for everyone, The Goonies. Honestly, what else can I say? I could literally end the segment here. Data and Short Round are iconic only because of Huy. Even as a kid watching both movies, Huy was a standout to me, and his memorable Even as a kid watching both movies, Huy was a standout to me with his memorable performance as this cute little Asian kid. These two films were his legacy in the same way that the Home Alones are Macaulay Culkin's, or how The Sixth Sense and AI are Haley Joel Osment's. Being a child actor is hard because as you become an adult, the cute kid aspect disappears, and that may be all Hollywood wanted you for. It's make or break, there's no in between. That's why it was a surprise to see Culkin in that one season of American Horror Story, or how it might be surprising to some people to learn how active Osment is in his acting career, especially with his 20-plus year commitment to voice acting Sora in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Huy, Macaulay, and Haley are almost poster children when it comes to analyzing how Hollywood has treated children over the years. From Shirley Temple to Millie Bobby Brown, it's definitely an interesting topic of conversation. So, Huy, after snagging some minor roles through the late 80s and early 90s, decided to go to college and enrolled in a film program at the University of Southern California. Within the 20 years following his high school graduation in the late 90s, Huy only starred in one film, mostly being part of the crew for several movies. As a student of Taekwondo, this also included a position as an assistant fight choreographer in 2000's X-Men. Leading up to COVID times, Huy, who was kind of inspired by the success of the rom-com Crazy Rich Asians, he thought to give acting another shot. He landed 2 roles back-to-back. Netflix's Finding Ohana is described as a Hawaiian Goonies adventure, so Huy was interested and got the part of George Fan in that film. Around the same time, he filmed the critically acclaimed film Everything Everywhere All at Once. His role as Wayman Wang earned him a Golden Globe for his performance just a few weeks ago, and officially put Huy back on everyone's radar. This was the definition of a comeback. At 51 years of age, there's still a little bit to come for Huy Quan, with projects on Disney Plus on the horizon, including Season 2 of Loki. Huy's legacy has expanded more than just his 2 iconic performances of the 80s. And, let's hear it from Huy himself.
When I started my career as a child actor in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, I felt so very lucky to have been chosen. As I grew older, I started to wonder if that was it, if that was just luck. For so many years, I was afraid that I had nothing more to offer, that no matter what I did, I would never surpass what I achieved as a kid. thankfully, more than 30 years later, 2 guys thought of me. They remembered that kid, and they gave me an opportunity to try again.
Goonies never say die. Never give up. Good things come to those who work for it and those who deserve it. Congratulations, Key. You're an inspiration for all of us. That's it for this week. Again, follow me on Twitter or leave a comment and let me know what you've been fangirling over this week. Thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you again next week.